ABC stands for Ability Building Centre. Our mission statement is to improve the quality of the people of southeastern Minnesota who have disabilities both physically and mentally. And we do this by providing rehabilitation and employment services. We do this in three basic areas. We do it in the community, we do it in centre, and we do it as mobile crews which go to places. We're able to transition people from school to work programs after the age of 16, or transition to adult programs where they're 18 to 21 before they enter the workforce. We can do it to people who have been referred by their social workers or work centres due to a poor employment history, from county referrals or from hospital services after a car crash or traumatic brain injury or a long-term stay, and also from psychiatric services who recommend people are ready to come back into a place of work after a mental illness. Sometimes we have to train you, so that would mean we'd maybe put you onto a work crew which goes around varieties. It would be mobile, so therefore if you're in a wheelchair, you know, you really probably aren't driving yourself. You know, some people do, and they'll drive out means, you know, they've got a car adapted, but you know, you may be not able to drive, so you've got a wheelchair, we'll have a van come and collect you, we'll transport you, we'll bring you to a work site, and then we'll get you doing work there. Some examples of that being in offices, some people need maternity cover for a telephone agency, you know, for their desk. And if you think about it, if you, God forbid, you know, something happened to you, you were in a car crash, you lost the use of your legs, but you know, the rest of you is still good. Yeah. You could work in an office doing the telephones, but maybe that's not what you did in the past, but you're capable of learning it. So we'll find out who's got the telephone, what the system's like, how you work it, train you up, show you over it. Okay. Yeah. So then you could get to answer telephones. The next one we have is, you know, we have individual crews, and that's basically where the community is the direct employer. And what we need is basically to find a client who fits into that. Examples of that would be the greeters at Walmart. You know, you've all walked out, there's somebody sitting in a wheelchair saying, hey, welcome to Walmart. Or another one which starts to come in are the cart collectors and the bag fillers at Hy-Vee and Walmart. You know, sometimes, you know, they're taken on and they'll bring in the carts. Now the one at Walmart, they use a machine. You know, and actually it's quite difficult to train somebody to drive that, you know, because once you engage that, it's going to push 100 carts. You can imagine, if I take any of you three guys up and don't show you how to use that, I'll guarantee you'll be pushing that in the cars. You know, so you would need support of someone like me to come until you get it, while you're there all the time, making sure, halt, stop, have you looked, is there people, is there cars reversing, you know, coming out. I wouldn't want any of our clients working the busy days, Saturday mornings, Friday evenings, so they'll only work the quiet times, which are 11 to 3. She's attention starved, she really is, you know. Gets no attention. So again, you've got to fit the environment around the client sometimes. So that would be something we do. Then we bring people in, centre-based, who are on the way to improving their lifestyle, what we're looking for there. And this is a wee touch in with your book. A lot of these guys would come out of community homes where they're living, learning how to reintroduce themselves socially. They've got maybe physical, emotional or learning disabilities. What we can do is recognise that people can change their behaviours and they can grow and they can gain more experience, relationships with their families. It's always important that you get to know who their supports are. If you don't know who their supports are, then it's very hard to help them when they run into their block. Everyone plateaus at everything, whether it be a sport or whether it be an education of a certain level. You're going to plateau for a while before you can kick on to the next one. I think they call it the 99 degrees. Water doesn't boil until 100. But at 99 it starts getting agitated, which is unsettling, because before you get to that boiling, you know, you're agitated and you're sitting thinking, so like, can I make this change? Can I go to that next level? How do I do it? Will I get bigger if I'm playing basketball? Will I get faster if I'm playing soccer? Or will I keep all the tools if I'm doing a job which remembers when I come in I've got to hang up my coat, take off my bag, change my shoes, put on protective equipment, go in and do the first few things, which are sign in, here I'm here, this is where I'm working, and ask for more tasks once they've completed it. So that's what we're kind of looking for, the relationship with the family, to help them by saying to them, what did you do today? Take an interest in who they are and what they're doing. or have their regular meetings. Sometimes it can be once every month, sometimes it can be once every 3 months. Resources, I wasn't really going to go too much into that. What I've learned, you know, effectively I worked in manufacturing for about 15 years. It was all about one thing. I wanted to make my companies as much money as fast as possible, and I didn't care how I did it. I was with a group that basically went round. There was a factory that had been there for 150 years. If it wasn't making money, I was like, let's shut this down. It wasn't just my decision, and let's move it. And that's terrible. I mean, it was very, very business orientated. I mean, looking back on it, you know, thank God they paid me lots of money because it made me sleep at night, you know, that I could go out and do stuff, but it was very much all about money. This is the long game. This is real jobs for guys to learn skills, to build their confidence. And I've realised that, you know, on a personal basis, that in my own opinion, I think I've got an ability to show a commitment to them. I mean, I've been doing it 10 years. I mean, I only worked in manufacturing management when I left university for 15 years, 16 years. So I've actually been doing this for 10 years. And you're looking at, I mean, I've got the ability to commit to them. They know I'm not going to go away, I'm not going to give up on them. I give them respect of who they are, what their abilities are, and try and find them positions that they can succeed at. And then, you know, I think I'm enthusiastic about it. You know, I always try and make it, you know, there's nothing happening between 9 and 3 on the television, so you might as well be learning a work skill. You might as well be earning a wee bit of extra money. That's how I tend to put it, you know. So that's it. And I do have some examples where I took the names out of, you know, another client I had who had Down syndrome, which I thought was really good, was he could tell me, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, I don't like American football. But pandering to him, I mean, he would tell me every player and every number, and I would say, oh, who's on the Jacksonville Tigers? And he would go through the roster, knock them off, and I was like, wow, this guy's into names and numbers. So what we did is, in our area, in our office, we have something like 20 different offices. So I numbered them up, made sure everyone had their names visible on them rather than have them sitting on their desk. They put them outside, and we developed a mail folder system. Because if you know names and numbers, you can deliver mail. So we went around every place. I think we ended up doing 30 different offices. At any point in time, you could stop him and say, where have you been? He could take out his folder and say, I've done these names and numbers, and I have collected, I've delivered this, so he would show you I've delivered, and he picked up, and you could check in his basket, and you would have the number of packages that he had delivered and the number that he had picked up from those offices. He ended up having a job at Mayo delivering x-rays from one department to another. Really pretty cool. Technology's been a big thing that's changed things. iPods come out, the Beats come out with they've got money. He bought some Beats, they must have been out, I think about 3 years ago. He bought some of these headphones. I saw my headphones. He was quiet. And those are solid, those things. I've never really worn them because I don't like that, but I've tried jacks, and when I put them up, you can hear nothing else outside that. He vacuum cleans. And when he puts on the headphones, you don't hear a pop out of him. If you smile at him, he'll smile back because he doesn't care about you. He can go down after a banquet at Mayo Civic Centre where they've got like 3 hours worth of carpet and it needs vacuum. He's so detailed. He'll do all the edges, all the bits, he'll move stuff, he won't miss a thing. And he'll do that for about an hour. If anybody goes by him, he'll just go, you know, takes the headphones off, gets back in the van, he's that's us. No, I mean, it would be all the stuff that you wouldn't want out in public, but he can do that. So that's a big thing just by technology changing. The other thing is now he's listening to books. You know, he's going down to the library, he gets books out, he's using his intelligence. I mean, you know, and some of the books he's listening to, you wouldn't really tackle, you know, I mean, because they're pretty heavy, but he's wanting to get into the intricacy of things because I think he missed them for so many years. So he's got so that's a kind of upshot of what I'm involved in. How I do it is I only work part-time as well, because the other thing is it's very emotional when you're working with a lot of people. They're very demanding. You know, let's see how the dog's over. That's like a disabled person, you know, if they like you, they're over it. Oh, you touched me more than he did, so I'm going to go with you. Oh, you're not touching me, I'll go with you. So they're always looking for people to partake in their lives and their adventure, as I call it. So therefore it can get a bit weird. And it's like coaching. I haven't coached you, but I've coached soccer. And I always said, after 6 weeks, you get fed up hearing me saying, throw the ball up, head it, drop it down, hit it with the inside of your foot, use that, do that, come on, you know, don't forget, run to the inside of someone. Yeah, that doesn't mean you're going to get it every time, but when you get it right and it works, you feel great. There's a certain level where you say, coach, I really don't need to hear it anymore. And that's why, and I don't know, but I think in soccer it suits me because I get to stand at the sideline. I can say some things, but I don't have to, like basketball maybe or American football, I don't have to call every play for you. You just play. And then after the game's over, we can review it and work on some of the technique. Well, with the clients, I find that's the same way. Once I've shown them the skills, I feel they're confident in the skills, I can let them work. The key principle with what we have in ABC, and there is another one, possibilities as well, and they serve a higher level of disability than what we'll do, but they'll find that there's jobs like Mayo have jobs labelling test tubes, which will go for blood samples. You know, just where you write your name and your number on, and they'll label them. Because if you think about it, there's not a machine that's going to be able to label one individual. They'll give them bags of them. A company like Kerry, who are down on they have they do flavours and essences. They have small tins which they'll send out syrups which can be added into vats of stuff, and they get labelled up by them. So there's a few companies that do it up in the cities. There's lots, but they've not got a lot of different work. I mean, the work they're doing is very menial, in a sense. So you have to be aware of that. I mean, there's and I couldn't get that book away from the spirituality side of it. Listen, find their dignity. They're socialising. I mean, they all have relationships. A great story of it is I sum up. What do you do for your birthday? Tell me what you did in your last birthday. Okay, right. You know what these guys do? Because they're social and they all worked it out. They've worked out that you get a free breakfast or whatever at Denny's. So they'll go to Denny's for their breakfast. After breakfast, they'll go to, I think it's the Baker Square, and you get a free piece of pie for your birthday. They'll go there for lunch. Then they'll go to Glinner's pub down in the corner there where you get a free drink. And then they'll go up to the bingo up on 55th Street. This is all during the day, and they'll play a free game of bingo. And that's what they do, a lot of them do for their birthdays. And so that's four occasions of something they do on their birthdays, which asks me, what did I do on my last birthday? I mean, yeah, maybe the family wish me happy birthday and I get a phone call from my mum or something, but it's never as organised as that. And plus the other side is, if you or I went and did that, we'd probably go to Perkins, we'd take somebody with us. They don't need somebody with them. The somebody with them would have to pay. They see that as that's not the point. The point is they're getting, on their birthday, a free breakfast. Then they go for the free piece of pie. Now, if you went into Baker Square, you'd probably buy a lunch and then have the free piece of pie. They don't. They just get the free piece of pie. They say it's my birthday. They've got no embarrassment about that because they don't realise it's a marketing gig to get people in. They just know it's a free thing on your birthday. And their birthdays are really special because that's their special day. And I think that was something that book probably alluded to, is that everyone's special. Everyone wants to be told they're special, and everyone needs to show that they've accomplished things. So that to me is a big, when you start finding that stuff out, if I went in there and said, again, there's another one, Dunn Brothers, once a month, I think it is, they do, on a Friday, they do free coffee. And it's not really free coffee. The idea is that the money you were going to spend on the coffee, you would donate and it would go to a charity. But those guys all see it as free coffee, so they go in and they get Dunn Brothers coffee and go, free coffee at Dunn's, But that's just their outlook on it. But you know what? Dunn's actually doesn't mind them coming in and doing that because that's maybe their little payback to the community. Canadian Honker, I mean, he cooks all the meals for a lot of the Meals on Wheels. And he's not cooking a different meal what he serves in his, I mean, you don't really hear about this, but he's not cooking a different meal that he serves in his restaurant. He might have ordered a bit more so that he can supply the Meals on Wheels. He'll know there's 30 homebound disabled people or 30 people who are on that kind of Meals on Wheels program that he'll supply a meal to, And that's something that they sign up for because they're eligible. I mean, there's none of them who are rich, you know. There's nobody who's, you know, owning Jaguars and living in penthouses and stuff. They're all living on the absolute minimum, but everything they have is worth the absolute maximum to them if they've earned it, or they feel they've earned it by being able to go out into society and take part in it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to go into Denny's if you're shouting. You don't get to go into Baker Square if you're causing a scene about where you hang your coat up. You know, have you seen the movie Rain Man?
I haven't, but I've
It's an artistic thing, and basically the guy says, I've got to watch Jeopardy, I've got to watch Jeopardy. He won't fly on a plane. You know, you can't get him into the airport. The only plane he'll fly is Qantas, which is Australian Airlines. You can't fly from New York to LA or LA to New York on Qantas. You'd have to go to Australia first and fly back. You know, it's things like that, but they won't do it, you know. But once they overcome those kind of, you know, barriers, those are the barriers. Sometimes they're mental barriers, sometimes they're physical. You couldn't get around this house in a wheelchair because we've got too much stuff in the way, but they would have their house. They'd just have one chair that they lift themselves into and has automatic lift in and out. And they have a lift if they have stairs and special baths. So I say technology's changing all that. Anyway, so that's just a thing, you know, so be aware of that. Don't put anything in it that would be critical, because we're not trying to ever be critical of the things, you know. And obviously, you know, you've heard that horrendous shooting. Now, again, that's why it's very important that we won't take clients who are abusers, self-abusers, abusers of others in any way. They're what's called vulnerable adults. I am working for a service, a social service for any of these clients. You can't abuse them verbally, emotionally, financially, physically, sexually, you know, but they can do that to each other. So it's very important that we make sure people who are coming in are aware of what our rules are, and that means they have to have the backing for it. That young man, we'll never really get to the bottom of it, but you can guarantee he was on some sort of psychotic or schizophrenic medicine. He was made his own guardian at 18 and he took himself off the medicine. And they can do that, and that's the problem. People can't be supervised 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so when he went somewhere, he probably, if he was doing something, stopped doing it. So, you know what I'm saying? So on that side of things, you know, that's how that happens. You can't supervise people 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
So if they stop doing things, like if they stop turning up for work, or they turn up for work and they're angry, you know, you'd have to be making sure you case noted that and it went back to their, you know, their social worker, who would then contact a psychiatrist, who would then bring them in for more meetings. But that costs money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, it costs $130,000 a year to keep a sexual guy in prison. You know, it was on the news the other day there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, can imagine how much it would cost to maintain all of our people who have psychiatric disabilities. So,
well, you were talking earlier about, you know, Dunn Brothers and Canadian Hungry. How do you build these relationships with businesses in the community?
okay, well, first of all, the business, for it to be a real job, the business has to have a need.
Mm.
And it has to have a need that it wants to be met by a crew from ABC. One example of that being, you could have a conglomerate of businesses, maybe 3 or 4 different businesses operating out of the one office, and it could be an insurance agency, a dentist, a packaging specialist, and maybe a small restaurant, but they share the foyer, the public toilets, maybe a sitting area. They share that. Those businesses might not want to take turns cleaning those, but they still want to have a presentable area. So they'll contact our marketing and see if we can do something for them, and we will offer some services to them with one of our mobile crews, a work crew, because they don't want anybody there full time, so they don't want an enclave. So we'll send a crew down, try and meet their requirements, and try and meet our requirements of a crew. If it has a bathroom, sometimes people are really good at cleaning bathrooms, and they will go in there and they will clean the bathrooms and have them spotless and about. If it's two stalls and a urinal, and then again in the female side, they could probably do that top to bottom, wiping every wall, wiping every thing, using the correct chemicals safely. You could probably do that in about 2 hours, as well as mop the floor, brush up the outside and vacuum any sitting area. 2-3 hours work is going to cost something like that building somewhere in the region of, if they employed you or I, we probably wouldn't do it for less than $30 every visit. Our clients, again, because they're prepared to go on mobile crews, they don't have to have that every day. They're quite happy to maybe do that one day and then the next day go to a school and wax the floor in the school. Somebody applies a wax, they need it to be dust mopped, to be polished so that it remains sealed. So they don't need work every day at that site, so it's cheaper for that building to contract it out, so that's where they do it. Obviously there's private cleaners in the market and we're competing with those for the jobs, but that company might be on the point where it doesn't want to offer a contract that it'd be held to if everyone in the building only has short-term leases. Maybe the packaging company only opens up over the Christmas period, so they can only charge them 1 or 2 visits. So that's how you would do it. You would put out for what's called a competitive bid. That's the change in the attitude of them saying before it was sheltered work. Oh, we'll get people with disabilities to do that. That's not the way now. They're competing with people in the community. People in the community are saying, I'll bid for that job too. Sometimes our bid's too high. Sometimes it's an acceptable bid because we can come at maybe a week's notice, maybe a day's notice.
So you're really able to meet the market as an equal?
Yes, as an equal, but we're also sometimes more flexible because our clients are prepared to work, as I say, they're prepared to work on enclaves, which I could phone a client up and say, would you like to go down to the Civic Centre? There's a vacuuming job on there, or there's been a big concert and we're going to do a clean up of the Civic Centre main hall. Would you meet me down there? And they'll be quite happy to do that because they'll tell everyone that they meet on their way on the bus, going to the Civic Centre today, I'm going to be working down there. Big part of their day is telling you where they're going, what they're doing and who they're doing it with. They won't say maybe ABC's their employer, they'll say, I'm going to the Civic Centre, I'm going to clean up after that big concert. They had the Blue Man Group there and there was, 3,000-4,000 people at that, and I'm going to clean all that stuff up as a help. So that's what they see it. They see that as their role. They're on the bus, they're telling everyone on the bus that, and it's building their self-esteem, which is one of the greatest things they can do, because if they feel good about themselves, they feel good in the community, they're going to be able to feel they're playing their part. And remember, they pay taxes. They probably get a big buzz out of that, because you always hear about, they're getting handouts and entitlements. When you earn money in this country, you're taxed on it. It might not be a high tax rate, but you're still paying something on it. You're paying your Medicare, or you're paying a little bit of income tax for the state or something. That again, that's them contributing. The other thing that's interesting is a lot of our clients elect to make charitable donations directly from their wages. They'll donate to United Way, Salvation Army, etc., Easter Seals. They'll do that directly every month. It might not be a lot, but they see it as something that maybe helped them out when they were really struggling. Provided a winter jacket for them, provided a service where they were able to travel to and from an appointment, etc. So that's their way of repaying back, because they've been able to do that.
Seeing themselves come full circle and be able to give back to that is huge.
To me, that's incredible, because if I walked up to you guys and said, how much did you give to charity of your own money that you earned in the last week? Chances are
it's not going to be much.
They're going to have, as a percentage of what they've earned compared to you, chances are they're going to have put more than you have. Not that you're of an age yet, but once you get to that age, that's why we expect people to give back, because of what they've received, and they're doing it too.